So you're born with ADHD. You might think it's just about being hyper or maybe a little distracted sometimes. But let me tell you, it's way more than that. It's like your brain is a high-speed train with no brakes, always speeding past the things you actually need to focus on and running into random distractions. Life with ADHD isn't some quirky charm or an occasional inconvenience. It's a constant struggle to keep up, stay on track, and just function like everyone else. Imagine trying to concentrate, but there's a never-ending buzz in your head, thoughts jumping from one thing to the next, racing in all directions. It's like trying to tune into a radio station, but instead of a song, all you hear is static. That's what it's like to live with ADHD. You might want to focus on something, but your brain won't let you. It's like being in a constant battle with your own mind, where every thought is trying to outrun the one before it. And forget about sitting still or relaxing. Your brain has no off switch, no volume dial, just a constant hum of energy that never seems to stop. Let's talk about focusing for a second. You might have the best intentions, starting a project, reading a book, or maybe even cleaning your room. But before you know it, you're halfway through, and suddenly you've got a whole new idea or a completely unrelated task in your head. You look around and boom, you've somehow ended up doing something completely different. You could be in the middle of writing an email and find yourself obsessing over a random memory from your childhood. Or you might be trying to finish a report and suddenly feel compelled to reorganize your bookshelf. And guess what? You don't even realize how it happens. Focus isn't just hard. It's like trying to hold onto a kite in a hurricane. The world isn't built for people with ADHD. In fact, it's designed to make you feel like you're constantly failing. You're expected to sit still in school, follow a schedule, and maintain focus for hours on end. Sounds like a nightmare, right? You can't help it, but suddenly, your body can't take it anymore, and you're fidgeting in your seat or daydreaming. And the worst part? Everyone around you seems to have it together, following along without a hitch. Teachers, parents, friends, they all expect you to keep up, but it's like trying to run a race while everyone else is in a car, and you're on foot. It's exhausting trying to meet standards that don't match how your brain works. The hyperactivity? Yeah, it's real. Your body is always on the go, and no amount of sitting still or calming down seems to work. You could be exhausted, mentally and physically drained, but still you're fidgeting, tapping your feet, bouncing your leg, or even getting up to pace around. Your body has too much energy, and it can't help but spill over. It's like being trapped in a never-ending race where you can't even find the finish line. Even when you're tired, your body just won't stop moving, and it's not a fun feeling. And when you try to relax, it feels like you're being told to sit still in a room full of firecrackers going off. It's hard to focus on anything when your mind and body just won't cooperate. Deadlines and schedules are the stuff of nightmares. You can try your best, set reminders, and make lists, but it still feels like everything's slipping through your fingers. You might be great at starting projects, full of ideas and motivation, but when it comes to finishing them, that's when things fall apart. You'll look at the clock and realize you've got 10 minutes left to finish something that should have taken you an hour. The ticking clock is a constant reminder that no matter how hard you try, time is working against you. But it's not like you're lazy. You just get caught up in distractions, lose track of time, and find yourself constantly racing to catch up. Living with ADHD means living on an emotional roller coaster. You might feel totally fine one second, but then something small sets you off, and suddenly your emotions are all over the place. You can go from excited to overwhelmed, from happy to irritated, and all of it can happen within the span of a few minutes. And let's talk about frustration, because nothing is more frustrating than trying to explain how your brain works to someone who just doesn't get it. The emotional ups and downs are exhausting, and they leave you feeling drained and misunderstood. You're constantly battling to stay on top of things, only to find yourself emotionally worn out by the end of the day. You probably already know the feeling of constantly letting people down. Maybe you forget a meeting, miss an important deadline, or lose track of something crucial. The guilt weighs heavy. You feel like you're always disappointing the people around you, even though you're trying your hardest. The truth is, ADHD isn't about not caring. It's about your brain fighting you every step of the way. But when others don't understand that, it feels like you're always apologizing for something that's out of your control. No matter how much you try to stay organized, there's always something slipping through the cracks. And the pressure to always explain yourself is just one more thing that wears you down. Living with ADHD also means navigating relationships that often feel like they're constantly teetering on the edge of misunderstanding. You might find yourself forgetting important dates, missing calls, or zoning out in conversations, leaving your loved ones frustrated and confused. And no matter how hard you try, it's like there's this invisible barrier between you and those you care about, because they just don't understand why you can't be more normal. You're constantly apologizing for being late, for forgetting things, for seeming distracted, and no matter how much you explain ADHD, it still doesn't feel like they truly get it. The worst part? It's not like you want to be this way. You want to be present, you want to be reliable, but your brain just doesn't cooperate. And over time, the emotional toll it takes on your relationships can be exhausting. You might even begin to feel like you're a burden, like you're just a mess of distractions and disappointments. But deep down, you know you're not. This is just the reality of living with ADHD. Living with ADHD is like living in a world that's constantly screaming for your attention. There's no such thing as quiet or calm. The world is loud, bright, and overwhelming, and it's hard to filter out what matters. Walking into a room can feel like an assault on your senses. Every noise, every color, every movement is competing for your focus, making it almost impossible to concentrate. It's like trying to watch a movie while someone is constantly flicking the lights on and off. You never get a break, and it's mentally exhausting to keep up with everything that's demanding your attention. So, why does it suck to be born with ADHD? Because from the moment you wake up, your brain is working against you. You're constantly fighting to stay focused, manage your time, and keep your emotions in check. You feel like you're always 2 steps behind, even though you're putting in extra effort just to keep up. It's not laziness or a lack of care, it's a constant battle for control, and the world isn't built to help you win it. ADHD doesn't just affect your productivity or your ability to function. It affects how you feel about yourself, how you interact with others, and how you navigate every day. You're not broken, but it sure feels like it sometimes. You're constantly racing to catch up, always trying to find a way to manage the chaos in your own head, and in the end, you're left hoping for just a little peace and quiet, where your brain finally stops yelling at you.